year all the way around, but definitely for the Eagles too. But I got to say, I'm taking a lot of positive out of what happened out of the game against the Cowboys. And I'll go into what I mean by that. But let me introduce myself. My name is Sheik. Of course, we got AJ here as well. Before I go into anything, AJ, share a few thoughts.
I agree with you. You find some things that you flip it to a positive, but how I look at it as a positive is some of it reminds me of the Chip Kelly positive, as far as you knew he was going out the door. So it's just like, listen, they already came out and said Jeffrey Lurie hasn't even thought about firing Harry Roseman. So we might as well not even go
Howie
down
or
that
Doug
rabbit
Peterson?
hole. Huh?
Howie or Doug Peterson?
Howie.
Okay.
So we might as well not even go down that rabbit hole, right? Um, I I have a hard time believing because outside of Chip Kelly, Jeffrey Lurie has always been with his coaches loyal to a fault. You get what I'm saying? So I think he will give, as you said, like our second episode or third episode, that he may give Doug that mulligan. You know what I mean? But I do think there will be some things where he has to have there's going to be something to where he's going to be like, you need to find a play caller or something like that. But so that leaves one coach or personnel, whatever, to fall on the sword, but rightfully so. I just don't see them bringing Jim Schwartz back and Doug and Howie. I would find that almost hard to believe that they would bring Howie, Jim Schwartz, and Doug. Like,
I wouldn't.
somebody's going to have to. You know what I mean?
I wouldn't, unfortunately. So for me, the biggest positive is that, and I'm not going to make this show about Carson Wentz, no way, shape, or form.
Nah,
But
not at all.
um, too many times leading up to this game against the Cowboys, I was hearing the mirage that all the offensive problems, from a lot, obviously not from you, but from a lot of people, were due to Carson Wentz.
Hmm.
Now, anyone who watches football and really breaks it down, it's not just a casual watcher, can see that although, yes, Carson was making horrible decisions, had a horrible year and what have you, that there was a lot of horrible decisions made by the coaching staff as well, whether it's through game planning, play calling, or what have you. And I think my feeling is that yesterday, at least on the offensive side, um, it opened up a lot of people's eyes to, maybe Doug Peterson isn't the best coach that we thought he was. That it wasn't, as I've heard many people, not just casual fans, say, Carson Wentz audibling out of all the good plays and stuff like that. I think, to put it, this is a roundabout way to say that for people who got fooled into believing that this was all Carson's fault and for some reason all one person's fault, Doug Peterson and that coaching staff and the roster and a lot of stuff with the organization got exposed yesterday. And I think it's a very, very positive thing to expose your injury issues, your depth issues, the fact that some of your high-priced free agents are not earning their paychecks on the defensive line. The issues that you have with the fact that of some of the stuff, not so much, well, let me not say issues. Your offensive line people are a work in progress, which, the young guys, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. And most importantly, that you have a guy that's making his third start, and you put the whole game on his back for no reason whatsoever.
Well, one thing that people were okay, so there was a lot of people, and I was kind of getting into some arguments. Was the previous two starts, people were saying about how Doug was changing his play calling, right? Oh, he didn't do this for Carson. He didn't do that for Carson. Legitimately, the only thing that I saw was the difference was the short to intermediate routes that weren't there when Carson was there, right?
It felt like
But,
he was calling a little bit more plays that were moving the pocket as well.
well, no, well, I don't think so. A lot of it was
Hurts
Hurts
doing it on
moving the
his own.
pocket. Yeah, Hurts doing it on his
Okay,
own. But the glass slipper fell off Doug again. You know
right.
what I mean? Because it was like I looked at you yesterday when he hit that bomb. We were all excited, like, yeah. And then I sat down and I was like, yo, we get ready to lose this game, yo. And you were
Hmm.
like, what? And then I was just like, and you were standing up. You were like, he just scored. And I was just like, now Doug's gonna get pass happy. And you sat down. You looked and you're like, yeah, yep. And then the very
That's
next drive, I mean, I think we ran 3 straight times up the gut, and then he was just like, oh, they shut down the run. Let's, and but everything it turned into a go route, and it was just like, Jesus Christ, you know what I
and
mean? Like,
I don't get why Doug, and I don't know if it's a Miles Sanders thing or just the run game. I personally believe it's just the run game in general. You give Miles Sanders the ball 8 times in the first quarter. You give him
opening
seven,
drive, opening drive.
and you give him the ball 7 more times the rest of the game. And one thing you mentioned too is that this was looking like the Cleveland game, which is exactly the way it shaped up. And
Hmm.
listen, they were down by 13 points. I mean, yes, we had 2 turnovers in the red zone and what have you. But bottom line is this: if you watched around the league, Tennessee played Green Bay. Tennessee was down 33-14. They were still giving the ball to Derrick Henry. Why? Because Derrick Henry is their best player, and Derrick Henry is a workhorse. One could argue that Miles Sanders right now is your best player on offense.
If Alex Smith plays, we're going to lose. If, like you said, if they start there's some kid that will win and moral victory.
No, I mean, listen. So if we lose, I know you know the answers. I know you know the answer to at least this question. You probably know the answers to all of them. If we lose, it will be, I think, the first time. There will be the second time, I believe, since 1990 we'll have less than 5 wins. Because Andy's
Mm,
first season we went 5-11. Ray Rhodes we went 3-13. I don't think we had less than 5 wins under Rich Kotite or Buddy Ryan.
yeah, yeah.
So that's 30
Oh,
years.
Andy had a 4-12 season.
What did he go 4-12? I thought he went 5-11 his last year.
No, he went 8-8 in 11, and then 4-12 in 13. I mean in
But
12.
the last 2 coaches to have less than 5 wins got fired.
If it wasn't COVID this year, I think it would be like, yeah, Black Monday, Doug's going.
Okay,
I have a feeling that I think Doug may get a pass on this one.
I do too. But let's go beyond COVID.
Okay.
The Eagles have not had 10 or more wins in 3 seasons. Can you name the
Right.
last time that happened?
Nope. Probably
It
sometime in the 90s.
84-86 under Marion Campbell.
That's when I became well. That's those are the years I remember, like starting off, like vaguely like not vaguely, specifically remember.
And Marion
Vermeer was
Campbell,
very vague, but those Campbell years were like,
Marion Campbell is considered to be by far the worst Eagles coach post Vermeer.
I don't know, man. I, I still think it was Kotite, and the reason being is because Campbell didn't have. Yeah, but he had a jaws going on his downward slide, and and all that stuff. So, a Carmichael, going on his downward slide, like he had an aging
Right.
team.
But
Um,
the
but
point is,
Kotite, man, I'll just say, like this is why I feel Kotite is because
sure, sure.
Kotite had
A lot of talent.
whoo. There's a lot of guys on that team that should be in the Hall of Fame that aren't.
But I mean, my point that I'm making here though is that, and then you break down the numbers even further. Take away December in the past 3 seasons, and I think the Eagles have like 11 wins in 3 years, if you don't count December.
Well, here's the thing. Once again, I'm not saying that we should keep Doug. You're not saying you should keep Doug.
Right, right.
We
But I'm
both
just
are
looking
in
at the numbers
agreement
though.
that
Yeah.
Doug should be gone. But we both agree that Jeffrey Lurie will probably bring him back. Take away 17, yo. If I think
17 is the
if
only year he had 10 or more wins.
right 18, I forget something that
7-9
happened. Oh no,
with Nick Foles came in.
yeah. But we were sitting there, and if Chicago, if Minnesota basically doesn't choke against Chicago, we don't make the playoffs.
Right.
If Dallas last year doesn't have, which they should have had a home playoff game, like as talented as they were last year. Oh, excuse me. If they didn't implode the way they did, we don't make the play. You get what I'm saying? Like, so
Right.
we didn't get in the last 2 years because Doug is such a good coach. We got in literally because everybody else in our division shit the bed.
Right. And like, here's the thing. I think 16. If you take away 2017, I think Doug has maybe like 12 or 13 wins from September to the end of November, and 3 of those were the first 3 games he coached.
Yeah.
But you cannot win needing that long to rev up. And the thing with COVID, although I understand it, everybody else dealt with that too.
Right.
And the scary thing here. Now, here's my thing. I've heard all over the league, locally, nationally, how Jim Schwartz has a top 10 defense and he just doesn't have people out there. And I think that is still the mindset that Jim Schwartz, he just doesn't have the horses. He just doesn't have the horses. He just doesn't have the horses. I think that Doug Peterson does get another shot, but I do think that there needs to be all right, we need an offensive coordinator. We need, and maybe this is where where Lurie goes to Doug and they talk and he goes, hey, listen, man, I'm sorry I made you get rid of Carson Walsh, but and because you did have a structure there. Even if you don't really feel that, like you try to mend that a little bit because there's obviously some
Right.
issues there. You need to have an offensive coordinator and you need to have a quarterbacks coach who both have experience with working with quarterbacks.
Right.
Because whether you decide it's going to be Carson or Jalen Hurts, that's a whole nother discussion. Both of these guys, one needs to be rebuilt, the other one's a rookie, are going to need experience. I think the one change that will happen, hopefully, is less if he gets cherry picked. I think the draft is going to come to under John Dorsey as opposed to Howie Roseman.
I think John Dorsey will have a big influence, a little bit more than what's his name that's in the Jets
Douglas,
now,
yeah,
Douglas. I think he'll have, but it's funny because I heard the same thing especially when it comes to Schwartz, right? Oh, and these guys, oh, Jim Schwartz, like they've actually said this, like analysis, even game analysis. Oh, Jim Schwartz's defense works when he has talent. Anybody's defense works when so you mean tell me he needs to have an all-star cast? Yo, I could coach your defense. If you give me an all-star cast, I could coach your defense. And I won't cost you millions of dollars. Just pay me $150,000 a year. That's it. You
So
can use the rest of that money. You get what, and that's what I'm saying. Like, to me, I get you have to have some talent. You have to have some, right? But yo, like these guys are never coached up. And I'm gonna go on a rant real quick, so be patient with me. And it's not long. It's just when it comes to Jim Schwartz, right? Prime example. Yes, yesterday, basic shit. He does his arrogance, and Doug too, but his arrogance is just baffling because it was obvious, okay, that Jaquette shouldn't even been on that field. But then you go, okay, all right, you gave the kid a shot, right? Then you saw Fletcher Cox went down, halfway through the first quarter?
mm-hmm.
Okay, then you give him maybe 2 drives after that, right? And then you're like, which would have probably been mid-second. And then you're like, while the offense is on the field, on that one drive where they started to go down, you go, that's when you grab your defense as a coach and you say, that's when you make that adjustment right there. The naked eye can see that. You didn't have to look at the tight John. You didn't have to look at game film. The naked eye can see what was going on out there. That's when you gather the troops. Hey, listen, we got to switch some things up. Bada bing, bada boom, bada bing. What he went with midway through the third quarter, if he would have did that midway through the second, we're talking about a different ball game defensively, okay? Because other than that garbage time touchdown that CeeDee Lamb had, you know how many points they gave up when they went to that defense 3 on the third quarter?
Right.
And that was when he made the switch and they were already inside the 10-yard line.
Right.
Okay? So that obvious right there. Doug Peterson. Yo, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, bro. One thing I love about football, and the main thing, not that football, the main thing I loved about coaching, outside of seeing somebody that started here and then by the end of the season they were here, that just warmed my heart every time, was the chess match. Okay, this is what y'all doing. Okay, boom. I'm going to stop you, or I'm going to, especially when I call offense, boom. All right, now stop me. Okay, you adjusted to me. Now it's time for me to adjust to you. Like, that's the fun of coaching. You get what I'm saying? That's what gets them juices going. This dude, Doug can't adjust for shit, and it's basic shit. Like, yo, bro, like it was obvious what you were doing in the other two games. Like you said, the short to intermediate routes, relying on the run game, relying on Hurts' athleticism, will open stuff down the sidelines because guess what? Here and there, because then a couple times, even the last couple weeks, Hurts would take a couple chunk plays, boom, 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 and then all of a sudden the defense is scattered, and now so we're going up and down the field all day. But you get all go routes. Like, come on, man. Like, not to mention, so you can't adjust during play calling. Your offense is just the plays you call are terrible. So adjustments and your game plan is just terrible half the time. I put the injuries on Doug Peterson and his coaching staff because it's not on a medical team. Okay, these are soft tissue. A lot of these are soft tissue injuries and stuff like that these guys are out for because it is known that Doug Peterson has one of the softest training camps and doesn't emphasize he is too laid back. The body needs to be able to going into the season. That's why they have so many injuries. Okay, so put that on Doug. And then the development of these guys, the way they're, like, and just the way that Carson Wentz has all that talent in him, regardless you take away his arrogance, egos, decision, all that stuff, his raw talent that he has, and you're fucking, and you offensive guru, can't figure out what to do with that? Come on, man.
And not just talent, but he's shown he can do it. He's not Jared Goff, who we all believe, although Jared Goff is arguably, based off of results, the best quarterback out of that class, we could see that it's the coach is what's driving that is the system. Carson has shown that he could do stuff, and this is what I don't get about, because I saw it yesterday with Doug. He is hell-bent on having these guys be pocket passers. And with
did you see Hurts just standing there a bunch of times, and it was cool, like, he had time, but that's not his game right now.
No, and that's never been Hurts' game, not even in college. Like, so.
And as he gets older, you want to see that a little bit more because his wheels start to slow down. But not third game in. Sorry, I know I keep going off. Prime example of the goofy shit. It has not Doug doing that with the pocket passing. And like, it's 3rd and 4 on a crucial moment in the fucking game, and you got two dudes that were just on the practice squad that you called up for the practice squad playing D tackle. Neither, take away Cox, but Jackson and Hargraves, neither one of them were on the field in that moment. Like, what are you doing?
And by the way, I wanted to touch on Howie real quick because we had a discussion last week about you don't think Howie's drafts have been so bad, and
and the reason I say that is because not because he's the smartest guy in the room, and I think that's where I needed to reiterate that, and I'm glad you brought that up because we haven't discussed it since then. I wasn't saying that Howie's drafts weren't bad because they don't look that bad now because he got lucky. Because it was some luck. You get what I'm saying? That's all.
Well, the interesting thing though is how do you judge a good draft? And I'm going to go just the Eagles organization because some of this is not Howie. How many Pro Bowlers have the Eagles drafted in past 15 years?
15 years?
15 years. Since 2006.
Well, we've drafted because you figure Shady was a Pro Bowler, Macklin was a Pro Bowler.
Macklin was never a Pro Bowler.
He wasn't. No. I thought he was. Should have been. But Deshaun was a Pro Bowler. Nick in that 2007-2 season was a Pro Bowler. Actually won Pro Bowl MVP that year, and then got traded for Sam Bradford. Finally, after like 20, after year 15, Brandon Graham. I mean, maybe not as Fletcher Cox.
And Carson Wentz.
You've
had 6 Pro Bowlers.
Oh no! Didn't Brooks make a Pro? Oh no, we didn't draft Brooks. Sorry, Kelsey.
A normal draft, you got 7 picks, if not a little more. We've had seven.
On the average, we'll round off that. Yeah, 7.
We've had 7 Pro Bowlers in 15 years.
Yeah, continuous Pro Bowlers. Yeah.
That continued. 7 Pro Bowls in 15. Brandon Graham's made one. Carson Wentz has made
Oh
one.
yeah. Based off of AJ, based off of who we drafted, not who picked up a free agency and all that stuff. Okay,
So
gotcha.
I mean,
You're right.
that's actually I think the worst over that time span in the NFL.
Mm-hmm. Well, my thing is
And that's not
sometimes
Howie. I mean, there's Chip in there too and Andy, but
right.
as an organization, you cannot survive. And understand, like making the Pro Bowl is not as difficult as it was back in the day because they have so many Pro Bowl spots. There's so many people that kind of opt out. I mean, like
I'll say outside Pittsburgh and Baltimore, like if you look at teams, they're lucky to get one or two, like 2 good players, 3 good players out of their drafts. So something, you know what
but
I'm saying?
define good player. I mean, like if you're talking about players that
A
contribute,
starter, a starter.
but define a starter. I mean, when I say that, is a nickel slot person a starter now?
In today's NFL, I
It
consider
is
him
a
one.
linebacker that plays less than 50% of your defensive snaps
Right,
because is he a starter? Like,
right.
is a defensive lineman
But
that's in a rotation and plays 12 snaps a starter?
I just think as Eagles fans sometimes, and once again, I'm not trying to bail Howie out because he's made some crucial mistakes, but I just think sometimes as Eagles fans, we're like, oh, if we didn't draft, and I know this is not what you're saying, but I'm saying like, it just seems like, oh, we didn't draft. We had 8 picks and 6 of them didn't make the Pro Bowl. It was a bum draft. You get what I'm saying? It just seems
No,
like
I'm not
I'm not
saying
saying that's what you're saying. I'm just saying that
right.
as an overall Eagles fan base. So sometimes you gotta sit back and be like, okay, I personally think that last year's draft, the 2020 draft, could arguably be Howie's best draft. With the contributions that were made by the players out of that draft.
But here's the problem. It, it depends on how you want to judge it because if you want to judge it on value, I'm sorry, man. Like it might be a Brandon Graham-esque end of career to try to say that Rager is going to look better than some of the other wide receivers drafted after him.
No, but what I'm saying is he's a good receiver. Now, granted, he
He
unfortunately,
might be.
I'm not any other year because they were talking about it. Mac now and oh God, Ray Diddy were talking about it, and they were just like in any other year. If you look at at Rager's stats where he was drafted, you'd be like, oh, he had a pretty good year as a rookie. It was just that Ruggs and CeeDee Lamb and Justin Jefferson were just so
But
good.
I'm not even going by Ruggs and CeeDee Lamb. It's Justin Jefferson. It's T.
I
Higgins.
know
It's
it's
Claypool. It's Brandon Ayuk.
yeah.
Denzel Mims has started to come on with the Jets. Like that's what
No,
I'm
you're
saying.
right. You're right.
So when you have, if you look at it and you say, oh, Ruggs, and to be fair, I mean, the Denver Broncos drafted Jerry Jeudy, and they're starting to ask them the same questions. So it's not
Right.
just but if you have 4 or 5 receivers drafted after you, I mean, look, Freddie Mitchell was a starter for us too for a few years. I'm not saying that,
Right. No,
Mitchell,
I get what you're saying.
but you know what I mean?
I'm just saying it's for Howie. Like you don't look at Rieger to me with everything that's going on with the quarterback situation, with missing 6 games this year, with the offensive line continuously no established running game. Like you get what I'm saying? Like, and I'm not saying why that Justin Jefferson he should be an Eagle.
Brandon Ayuk has missed 5 games, and San Francisco has been just
But what I'm saying
on.
is you don't look at him as a bust. That's what I'm saying. Like
Well, it's
you
only
can
been
see
you can't look at someone as a bust after the first year. That's unfair.
J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. We looked at him last year. It was like
No,
he's a bust.
I think, but it wasn't confirmed until the second year. I mean, but here's the thing: you look at stuff like that, and it's not just 1-to-1. Like
Right.
But consistently with Howie, you look at stuff that was drafted after that. And that's why, like, the 2020 draft, I can't sit there and say right now, oh, it was a great draft. I mean, you look at it
No,
because
for Howie Roseman, that compared to his other
if
drafts,
when
like
you have to say, well, for this guy, it's a good now for this guy, then that guy needs to be out the door. Like that's the thing. You know what
I
I mean? Like
I 100% agree. Listen, I 100% agree that Howie should be going, but that's why I made the statement of he must have what you call it, doing some crazy stuff naked in pickle juice. I don't know.
listen, man, Howie's not a good drafter, and we haven't
He's not.
give him credit for having people that contribute to the team.
I'm trying. I was trying to be half glass full, dude. You know what I mean? Like prime example. Like once again, it was luck because nobody saw Wentz take the assisted by Doug big time to fall off the cliff the way he did. So now, but that was pure luck. You get what I'm
Well,
saying?
it's only been 3 starts too, and I hope and I'm not putting him into this doomsday thing. And I think he's way better than Bobby Hoyne. But Bobby Hoyne had a couple decent starts too to end the year.
No, and I get
You know
some
what
of
I'm
the
saying?
things.
I'm just cautious. That's all I'm saying. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Because they
You
were
know,
talking about that on that show too, and like Ray Didiger even said he was just like, yeah, prime example. That's why I throw some of the records out the thing. I liked his poise in his pocket. It was the first 3 quarters he didn't look bad. It was obvious the kid was pressing, trying to help the team win the game, and his coach wasn't helping him. It was obvious in that. But like they talk about like uh he's still seeing fucking ghost. What's his goddamn name? Oh God, the quarterback. That was supposed to be the heir apparent to McNabb.
Kevin Cobb.
Kevin Cobb. If you remember at the time, he held the NFL record, was it for first 3 stars for throwing over 300 yards?
Right.
You know what I mean? But there's just something with Hurts that you saw. There was a certain things with her, and I'm not saying he's bona fide Hall of Famer. But there's something there.
Sure.
You have something there with him.
It's just a matter of. I mean, listen. You know, how many years in the league has Aaron Rodgers, been here? And he had an awful game against the Bucks early in the year. You know, that actually looked worse than
Yeah.
Hurts had. It happens. So.
And he had a good 3 quarters. It was obvious it was play call. It was the fourth quarter where things unraveled for him.
I wouldn't say he had a good 3 quarters, but but
I mean, we did
there
have
was
3 drives.
There was definitely times in the second half where you
We
saw
had we had 3 drives. Yeah, we had 3 drives where we were at the 40-yard line, and we were 5 yards away from field goal range, and 3 drives back to back to back. We had penalties by the offensive lineman that took us out of field goal range.
which, according to Doug Peterson, is Jalen Hurts' fault. He wasn't loud enough with the cadence. Seriously, swear to goodness, that's what Doug said in his press conference. The cadence wasn't loud enough. I can't make this stuff up. That's what was said.
Well,
did you not hear this?
I refuse to listen to that. I heard it, but I heard some of the shit he was saying, and I was like, Jesus Christ.
Which, by the way, your quarterback.
I think did you look up to see if Matt Pryor broke the NFL record for most false starts in a fucking game? Like, Jesus God. It has to be close. At least an Eagles record. Like, that was just ridiculous.
One last thing before I will go into something else, and then we're going to do picks.
Oh, no 5-pack?
I'm going to replace the 5-pack with something else.
Okay.
Doug Peterson, you got a quarterback in his 3rd start. Even if the false starts are Jalen Hurts' fault.
They couldn't say in the headphones, say it with your chest, little nigga.
You don't say that in a press conference. You're throwing your quarterback under the bus. What are you doing? You don't even have to put blame there. Like, listen, it's just something we have to work on. Like, dude, for real?
Carson's probably tapping Jalen and be like, you see?
Yeah, I try to tell you. But listen.
Yeah, like, it'd be all right, kid. It'd be all right.
You know what, though? I mean, Could be worse. See what happened down in Washington with Dwayne Haskins, right?
At least they not in the strip
How
club.
bad do you have to be a first round quarterback and to be released within 2 years?
And during a playoff hunt, you one game away from making the playoffs, nigga.
So
Sorry.
this is my
Come on,
five.
bro. What you doing?
This is kind of taking the place of 5-pack. I just want to talk a little bit of NFL draft.
All right, that's cool. That's what's up.
So if let's assume that the Eagles are drafting 6th, okay?
All right, so we win next week,
And we're
beat
drafting.
Washington, and we're 6th. Okay.
Yep.
Originally, I wanted, at that point in time, if we couldn't get Jamar Chase, I would take Deontay Smith, who is a finalist.
Which, by the way, they have
Heisman.
the next pick going to the Lions.
Right.
So,
but then AJ made a very valid point to me. He said, Dad, you already have a speedster in Rieger. You're going to bring back Goodwin next year. You're not going to take a 6'1", 175-pound wide receiver. And I was like, he's not a big possession. We need somebody like a Jamar Chase. You get what I'm saying? The opposite of Rieger. So now, and I'm not trying to sound like I'm talking all over the place. If they did take Smith here, I would not be mad. If Micah Parsons is there, I 1,000% agree with you. I would take Micah Parsons. But if they took Patrick Surtain or Caleb Farley, who I think Patrick Surtain is better than Caleb Farley, just based off of where he plays and the talent he's going up against.
Quarterback for Virginia Tech, yep.
Yes, Caleb Farley is quarterback. I think Patrick Surtain playing for Alabama, I think kind of what you say, like with the Pac-10 receivers, I think he's going up against more quality receivers than Caleb Farley has.
Mm-hmm.
So I would not be upset with that. I would be fine with Slay and Surtain as our corners to the outside.
Okay. I was just curious about that because I saw the draft pop up. And, I was just interested. Now,
Right.
There's another thing with this mock draft that I'm looking at.
Now, I will be a little agitated if we draft that tight end. I'm not going to say agitated. I'd be fucking
Pitts
pissed.
from Florida.
Or if I would be pissed if we draft him. Or I would be slightly agitated if we draft Russo from Miami, who damn, I got gas, sorry. Who they are saying could be this year's Chase Young. Now, if we drafted him and he turns out like Chase Young, then I'm not agitated no more.
Listen, man, if he was that good, he would be a top pick. I mean, when I say that,
Chase, well, they got him going in the top 10.
With the quarter they have him going 12th. But but when I say that, like Chase Young was expected to would be the top pick overall. Just so happened that the number 1 pick went to a quarterback because they needed a quarterback. You know what I mean? Not to say he's not going to be good. It's just I always listen. Too many times. I was told Clarence Weatherspoon was going to be the next Charles Barkley. I hate hearing someone's going to be the next.
Yeah.
I mean,
but in D end, and let's be real, D end with Brandon Graham, the emergence of Josh Sweat, and you still got Derek Barnett, which still baffles me. I don't remember them. Maybe they already picked up his option a couple years ago. It's still under contract next year, so I wouldn't see that, and that's why I would kind of be agitated. But if you're going to go see, because you can go different ways. So my thing is if you go, if I feel that if it came down to Greg Ward or Travis Fulgham, because they're both free agents. I would pick Greg Ward. Now, if the Eagles decided, hey, we could get 2 receivers on the cheap, right? Considering our cap situation, we can get 2 receivers on the cheap that are, and I would not be pissed off with our receiver core being Rieger, Goodwin, Ward, Fulgham, Hightower, and Quez. I would not be pissed off with that, okay? Especially in the salary cap hell. And if they decided to sign them 2 and then draft a receiver, I'd be like, really? That's dumb. But that's when picking up Surtain would be like, yo, that's who you go with. Unless, like you said, once again, Micah Parsons is sitting there. Micah Parsons is a game changer. And you put Micah Parsons and Alex Singleton, who I just feel would be phenomenal as an outside linebacker with a solid, legit, you know what I'm saying, middle linebacker next to him.
Which, by the way, I understood they were mad at him for, lying about having a concussion, but you should have never let Ruja Hill go.
Yeah,
he's having a very stellar. I mean, and it's not like it's surprising, but he's having a very good year for the Dolphins, and he's not doing anything that we didn't see here.
Yeah.
There's too many linebackers I think that we've let go. Another interesting thing though about this draft in general that I'm seeing here. In the first round, I just want to ask you off the top of your head, how many quarterbacks do you think are going to go in the first round?
I'll probably say 4.
They have 6 going in, which I think would be a record. Because I see Trevor Lawrence.
Mm-hmm.
I see Justin Fields.
Mm-hmm.
And I see is it Zach Wilson from BYU.
Mm-hmm. And then what you call it from North Dakota.
I see Kyle Trask from Florida being late in the first round.
Yeah.
Possibly second. That was my thought. They have Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, Trey Lance going ahead of them from North Dakota State.
Yeah, well, they've been saying that. That's what I said. Trey Lance, that was the 4th quarterback I thought would go.
Yeah. Zach Wilson, Kyle Trask, and then Mac Jones from Alabama, which Mac Jones has been playing really well, almost has had a kind of like a rise like a Joe Burrow.
Right.
But 6 quarterbacks in the first round, wouldn't that be an NFL record?
I guess that's.
I think the record was 5 with the '84 draft, right? Or was it '84 with John Elway? Or was that '83?
83.
We're going to go to the picks. So I
don't even know who the fuck's playing. I mean, I didn't write down.
That's all right. We'll just do this on the fly. But good news and bad news for you. Good news, the past 2 weeks, you have picked better than I have. The bad news for the season, you can't catch up to me. I have 20 wins more. So, but you've closed the gap, which is nice.
You have 20 more than me? Damn.
Yeah.
Am I above 500? That's all.
Oh, yeah. Let me look this up real quick. My record is 124-42.
Okay.
Your record is 103-69, not counting this week.
Oh,
that just passed. So you're not awful.
Yeah.
I'm
better than most of the people on TV.
That's right. So it's interesting because week 17 is always funky. Let's start with the games that don't really matter. Vikings at Lions.
I'm still going to say Vikings.
I am too. I don't know, man. The Lions don't have a coach. I don't know if the Lions have much to prove right now. Whereas the Vikings, I think, actually do. I think the Vikings are pissed they missed the playoffs. So I think the Vikings win. I think the Vikings end up winning by 10 points. I think it will be 27-17. Right. Falcons at Bucks.
I'm going to go Tampa because they're still trying to vie for playoff position. They're in the playoffs, but playoff positioning.
Right. I think Tampa wins too. But I think this one's going to be close. I think Atlanta – there's some people in Atlanta got to prove some things. And, but I think it's going to be 34-30, my opinion.
Okay.
Jets at Patriots.
I'm going to say – because the Jets have secured that second. So whether they win or lose, they secure that second. I think the Jets are going to win.
I do too. And I think that the Jets are going to win. I think Sam Darnold's going to look good. And I think it's going to be interesting because these were the only games that Sam Darnold actually had all his weapons.
Sam Darnold?
Because I think a lot of people feel that the Jets failed Sam Darnold. But when Sam Darnold was –
Is he a free agent? I thought he's still under his rookie deal.
They didn't renew his fifth year option.
But this would only be his 4th year, going into his 4th year. This was only his 3rd year.
No, this is his 4th year.
This is 3rd. He got drafted in 2018.
Got drafted in 2017.
He came out the same year as Wentz?
Wentz didn't come out in 2017. Wentz came out in 2016.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. It's all right. Listen, man, it happens. We all on vacation. It's all right.
Shit. Shit. I'm so focused on on us talking about the draft and doing all that stuff. I'm really excited about that for the next couple weeks. So that's once we lost yesterday, my whole mind was on Eagles draft, free agents, who's on the roster, who's not.
All I know is the Eagles ain't picking up Sam Darnold. That's all I
That's all I know. That's all I know. That's all
Listen,
I know.
ever since you said Sam Darnold was going to have a better career than than Josh Allen,
He got that mono. It went.
Dolphins at Bills. I think that might be game of the week.
Because the Dolphins are still vying for trying to get in the playoffs, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
And the Bills are in, but are they trying to battle for positioning with?
Yes and no. So they're battling for positioning because the Bills are still battling with the Steelers.
Pittsburgh, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and they're still battling. Yeah, they're still battling with Pittsburgh, whether they have the second or third seed, but they're not going to get a bye. So Chiefs
Right,
left
because
that.
only one team. Yeah, only one team is the bye. I'm going Buffalo. Buffalo's really doing good.
I think Miami wins this one. I think
Really?
that Miami wins it. They go to the playoffs because I think there's going to be a point where Buffalo just goes, what is it worth to win this game? And it's going to be one of those things that save our team. And I don't think the Bills and Dolphins.
Well, what time? Well, what time does that game play? Because that's a big factor. Because shit. Because if Cleveland, for some reason, upsets Pittsburgh, then that's a whole different
which
ball
that's
game.
1 o'clock as well.
Yeah, so that's why I don't think they're going to be like, hey, let's save ourselves. So.
Well, and that's the interesting thing. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that if it's, I think if you're not going to see 100% effort because whether the Bills end up second or third doesn't really matter that much this year because there's no bye there. So if you end up second, you might end up playing because here's the whole thing. Who would you rather play if you're the Bills? The Miami Dolphins or the Baltimore Ravens?
The Ravens, if they win, they get the 6th seed locked up.
Right.
So I would rather, if I'm Buffalo, I would rather play, because it could go 3 teams, right? It could be Cleveland, Miami, or Indy, right? For that 7th spot.
Yep.
I would rather play one of those 3 teams than play Baltimore.
Well, here's the interesting thing. The Dolphins are right now the 5th seed. The Ravens are the 6th. The Browns are the 7th. And then on the bubble is the Colts. That's really what it is. So you could end up playing if the Ravens, let's say, lose, they might be out of the playoffs.
Well, if the Ravens lose, they're out, but they're playing Cincinnati.
Well, no, if the Ravens lose and the Colts lose, then they're in. I think they have the tiebreaker with the Colts.
Yeah.
So, but I mean that's the thing. So if you're the Bills, right now the Bills are the 3 seed.
Right. So they'll play. They would, if playoffs started today, they would play Baltimore.
And I said we're recording this on Monday.
Right.
That we're assuming the Bills are going to beat the Patriots.
Right.
So right now they would play the Ravens, but if they win and the Steelers lose, then they would play either the Browns or the Colts or possibly.
And just from a matchup perspective, I would rather play the Browns or the Colts.
Right. I got you. So it's all interesting. I think the Browns beat the Steelers personally. I think the Browns want to have all their receivers back. I think COVID just totally screwed them up because I think they win last week. And
if Landry and all those guys are
right. But getting back to the NFC, the Cowboys really going to be the division winners, man.
It depends. If Alex Smith, because the Redskins, it's a win and they're in, right? No matter what, right?
Yeah.
So, no. If they win and the Giants win, the Giants are in because the Giants beat them twice.
Nope. If Washington wins, because the Washington wins, they're 7-9. Where if the Giants wins, they'd be 6-10.
Oh wow. Okay. So Washington, if Alex Smith plays, they'll beat us. If Alex Smith doesn't play, we beat them. I Not to jump ahead, but I think the Cowboys will beat no matter what. Will beat the Giants Sunday.
Okay, so the Cowboys beat the Giants, then Washington plays Philly Sunday night, which I always hate Week 17 Sunday night games. That's just me. I think that everything should be. I don't think there should be a Sunday night game Week 17. But Ravens and Bengals. I think the Ravens take care of business. I mean, I know Cincy put up a
Yeah,
nice fight against Pittsburgh, but I don't see them doing that against Baltimore.
nah.
Although
Lamar's playing healthy right now, so
last time we said that about the Ravens needed to beat the Bengals for a playoff
hey,
berth,
hey, hey.
and Tyler Boyd was probably going to play for the Bengals.
There was a certain. I ain't gonna say no name, but my son had a friend. Both. You remember that?
Yeah,
Like
man.
real tears, real tears.
Jaguars at Colts. I think the Colts take care of business 4 o'clock.
Yes.
Texans and Titans. I think is interesting, but I think the Titans take care of business too.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this one's actually kind of intriguing. Cardinals at Rams.
I think with the Rams losing yesterday, they really put themselves in a bind. It depends on which Cardinal team shows up. If the Cardinal team that played Philly shows up, they win. If the Cardinal team that played this past week against San Fran, they lose. You know
Well,
what? They're
see,
too inconsistent. I'm going to go with the Rams.
here's the interesting thing. If the Cardinals win,
Mm-hmm.
okay, and I believe if the Cardinals win, because the Cardinals lost to the Rams earlier in the year, is that right?
I think so, yes.
So if the Cardinals win and the Bears win, the Cardinals are out of the playoffs. The Cardinals win and the Bears lose, then the Cardinals are in the playoffs.
Right.
And I mean,
I'm going Rams just because the Cardinals are just too inconsistent.
right. I mean, can't click on anything without showing an ad. Everything has an ad.
Except for us.
I know we're going to have ads too eventually.
One day.
It won't be for USAA, I'll tell you that.
No.
So Arizona, clinches with a win, or they win, or if they tie, Chicago loses. Chicago clinches with a win or Arizona loss. And the Rams. So if Arizona and the Bears win, the Rams are out of the playoffs. How about that? That's what I wanted to check. But here's the thing. The Rams play the Cardinals. I think the Cardinals beat the Rams. The Bears play the Packers. There's no way Green Bay is rolling over for Chicago.
Yeah.
And I think that's, speaking of people like Sam Darnold, Mitch Trubisky's another one that's going to be kind of interesting of what they do with him.
Yeah.
Now, Chargers and Chiefs. If you're Kansas City, do you sit your starters even though you have a bye coming up? Do you just get them?
I play a half.
Okay. Seattle. I'm assuming the Chiefs win, right?
I want to say Chargers win.
Really?
Because they got the number 1 seed locked up. I say they sit a half. Yeah, I still say Chargers win.
I still think the Chiefs win. Niners, Seahawks.
Go Seattle.
Yeah, I don't see the, even though the Niners did put a beating on them. Do you realize that if Seattle wins, the Bears beat Green Bay, and somehow New Orleans ends up losing to Carolina, Seattle is the number 1 seed?
Wow.
Like, that's crazy. The Saints.
Don't be surprised to see Carson in. Not saying that's where he's going, but don't be surprised to see Carson in that gold and red next year.
Gold and red.
San Fran.
Oh, San Fran. See, you said gold. I don't know why you said gold and red, and I'm thinking like the Rams and the Cardinals. I'm like, what? What are you talking about?
Nah.
And Raiders at Broncos, which such a shame. The Raiders had such a hot start, and for them to lose the way that they did.
They lost on bonehead shit. Um,
I think the Broncos win. It's in Denver. I think Drew Lock is trying to prove that he is the quarterback of the future.
I think the Raiders are just gonna lay down. Yeah.
And I think Derek Carr is out of Las Vegas, but it's not Derek Carr's fault, in my opinion. It's not his fault.
He's very inconsistent.
Yeah, and then we got Washington.
But the whole team's inconsistent, so.
Which we already stated, if Alex Smith plays, we think Washington wins. If Alex Smith doesn't, we think Philly wins.
Yes.
I will say this. When this season started, there was all this talk about how we had the advantage in the NFC East because we were the one team with our coach and quarterback coming back. And as we end the season, those are our two biggest question marks.
What's crazy is, and we didn't look at it as this because we both agreed to that, defensive coordinator, head coach, quarterback. I think there was definitely too many cooks in the kitchen, and I think that caused a lot of inconsistencies with Carson, with the play calling, with I really do.
I think you wanted a Thanksgiving feast, and instead of having just one cook looking at the ingredients, you had 8 cooks, and then they realized the ingredients was all you had was ramen noodles.
Facts.
Look, this team doesn't need a tear down because there's a lot of talent here, but I feel like the expectations should be next year we want to see improvement from our youngsters, and we love Carson, but obviously we think that Jalen Hurts should be the starter. See what we got with him.
And it's one of those situations, almost like an Andy thing. We loved Andy. It was just, hey, man, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, people outside of Philadelphia are like, oh, y'all gave up on Andy Reid. Look what y'all could have had.
We have 30 years. I mean, that's not giving up on him. It was time to go. Right. I will say this, though. Listen. I will be very, very upset if, like, Andy – I'm not upset at Andy. I'm very happy for Andy. If things go the way that they are shaping up to, Andy's going to win back-to-back Super Bowls.
And you know what?
Cool, I'm not mad at that. Good,
Right, good. And the thing is, like, people are like, oh, yo, Andy went 4-12, and Chip Kelly went fucking 10-6 and went to the playoffs with the same fucking roster. Andy Reid, Chip Kelly isn't nowhere near Andy Reid's realm.
Andy was just burnt out here.
It was time to go, and that's where I'm saying with Carson.
I
said before, real quick, as I said before, it's kind of the old wrestling term. Maybe he just needs to go somewhere and learn a new hold.
So. Carson leaves in a couple of years, in 5-6 years, he wins back-to-back Super Bowls. I'm going to be pissed. Not at Carson. I'm still going to be mad.
Yeah, I mean.
Unless if Jalen wins the Super Bowl, that's different. But, I want Carson to do well. But if Carson has more success than whoever we end up as our starting QB here, and I'm going to be mad just because of the fact
the best way
it should have worked here. It can't, but it should have.
The best way I could describe it is for a franchise and for Carson. If Carson stays based off the salary cap, his contract, our salary cap issues, which have nothing to do with him, we'll be a stagnant team and we won't be able to build around Carson. With Carson going off somewhere, going to a team that pretty much has all they need is a quarterback, San Fran, even New England. People think New England, Indy, one of those teams. And with us, with not having that salary cap, having Young, and not having to pay Hurts right away, having that extra money going in 2022, we could actually build more around Hurts than we can. So that's where I'm looking at it as. Has nothing to do with who I think is a better quarterback.
Right. It's just better for the situation.
Yeah.
Well, I will say, I mean, it's going to be a long year. Or it's going to be a long off season. Figure out
I
what.
think it's going to be an exciting. It's going to be long, but there's so many things. There's so many good young players and where we are. And man, listen, man. A lot of people are like blow it up. AJ was looking it up for me, and a lot of these experts have O line as one of our top two needs. It's not. It's not. It's not at all. It's not.
I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong, like I was when I predicted the Carolina Panthers to go to the playoffs. Wrong. I think both Carson and Hurts are here come training camp, and that's why it's
I
going to be a long off season.
I have a feeling you're right.
You know, and
I
it's
hope you're
not.
wrong, but I
I do too, just because here's the bottom line with Carson, and I don't. It's not anything to put down Carson Wentz. That man does not trust his organization, and I can understand why. He don't trust his coach. He don't trust the front office. He don't trust the owner, and I wouldn't either. You guys, you know,
they shit the bed when it came to that kid, man.
yeah. And even when you did try to build around them, you tried to build around them with J.J. Arcega-Whiteside and Donnell Humphrey. And then when you did bring in weapons like a Miles Sanders, you didn't want to use them.
Yeah.
You know, um, I just don't want to see the same thing happen with Jalen Hurts like we saw against the Cowboys. Because once again, like I said, not saying Miles Sanders is Derrick Henry. The Titans were getting their ass bust against the Packers. They were down 33-14 with like 12 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, and they were still trying to run the ball because that's what they do best.
What 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 was working with that kid? Even though we lost against Arizona, what was working with that kid? The run game, short intermediate routes, high to low, blah blah blah. If we stick with that formula, man, and Schwartz makes that move instead of mid third quarter, mid second quarter, we're talking. But half glass full, it needed to happen though.
It needed to happen. This was good.
This was good in
Hopefully,
the aspect because we need a top 10 pick, man.
right. Hopefully, this is a turning point, much like how it was. It wasn't as disastrous. The original miracle at the Meadowlands is what led the Giants to get Bill Parcells.
Yeah.
You know, and it's what led the Eagles to start getting confidence under Dick Vermeil. It worked out for both franchises.
Yeah.
This win probably saved Mike McCarthy's job in Dallas, even though they were saying they weren't going to get rid of him, which is great because I think he's an idiot.
Right.
And like I think that this is going to be positive in the long run. It hurt to watch. It sucked, but I think that Jalen Hurts is a baller and is going to be really, really good next year.
Bringing a QB coach that's young but experienced. And what I mean, young NFL wise. Don't bring
Right.
in no 60-year-old dude, 55-year-old dude. Bring somebody, mid 40s, early 50s that kind of could, um, can help Hurts with his style of play now, but also help him develop that pocket passerness. You get what I'm saying?
But listen,
I'm excited. I'm really excited as far as this is our first year really doing a draft. First year I'm really doing a mock draft. It forced me, as you knew earlier in the season, you would always say AJ doesn't watch college football like that. It forced me to pay more attention to college football, pay more attention to what's going on, which was fun for me. It was
right,
really
right.
good. So I definitely I'm actually excited for it. I know it's going to seem kind of redundant, like the shows will be shorter, but I'm just really excited to kind of pick our brains to see where we go with free agency and draft and
Right, and it's going to be really interesting. I mean, it's the first year in a long time the cap's going to be down. The draft's going to be a little weird because a lot of the star players didn't play. Of course, you've got people that are opted out of the bowl games. Yeah, whole teams opted out of bowl games, which is understandable.
right.
See their family forever. But it's going to be interesting. Hopefully, the Sixers end up having a really good year this year.
Last night but MB didn't play, but
Right, and Cleveland's 3-0. They're not the same Cavaliers squad. So
right.
they got some young guns there. Hopefully the Flyers do well. I have no hope for the Phillies. I'm sorry. I just don't.
I, I, I'm on the fence with the Phillies real quick. I'm on the fence with the Phillies just because if you listen to WIP, they're pissed off about that hire of the GM, but you listen to 97.5, you listen to Anthony Gargano and Mikey Mist, they're actually excited for this dude, the GM they picked up. So I'm on the fence. I really don't know who he is like that.
You can't bring the GM that's a win now GM when your owner doesn't want to spend any money.
Right.
That's what pisses me off about it.
Right.
Or not the GM. I'm sorry, the VP. The VP.
Yes, that's what I meant, not the GM.
Yeah, the GM was playing baseball in a charity game last year. I'm pissed off about that hiring. Where the hell did that come from?
Right.
But whatever. I mean, I don't know much about baseball GMs like that. I just know who the top guys were that were available.
Right.
I do know that we have.
That's because they draft like on a random Tuesday at like 10 o'clock in the morning.
Well, I know we have a star catcher that looks like we're not going to re-sign just because we had a shortstop that had one of the best shortstop seasons since Jimmy Rollins that we're not going to re-sign just because we're not trying to rebuild our bullpen. Like, you signed Bryce Harper just to sell tickets, and that was it. What was the point?
Yeah.
You know? But we're not here to talk about the Phillies. I'm just saying, like, I just want to have some distractions beyond the Eagles.
Yeah, the ongoing joke with us was always when the Eagles were out, it was like, hey, we got Sixers, Flyers, and hey, pitchers, catchers reporting this date. But
Right.
in this COVID world, who knows when they're reporting? And this would also be like 2 months or, almost going into 2 months into NHL and basketball season, and NHL season isn't starting up till mid-January. So
Right, which is going to be fun. But listen,
yeah.
have a good New Year, everybody.
Yes, sir.
We'll see you next week.
Happy New Year, and hope y'all got your draft boards. Just like y'all text me, say we don't talk about Phillies and Flyers enough. Yo, text me about what y'all think we're going to draft.
What do you want to talk about the Phillies? What do you want to talk about the Phillies? They've collapsed 3 years in a row. They signed a manager who's supposed to lead them to a World Series, and then you took away everything he got. They signed Bryce Harper and then said you get nothing. You bought – basically what you did was you bought a great Thanksgiving turkey and gave them no sides. And my man talking about a recession. What's the one thing that has done well in this recession? Weed. What's the one thing that the owner of the Phillies made his whole billion-dollar industry on? Black and Miles and Phillies blunts. You think they just smoking them things just by themselves? Hell no. They've been smoking them things with weed in them. Don't give me that. You just want to pocket money. You took us as suckers, and that is that. There. We talked about our Phillies for the rest of this year and probably for a lot of next year too.
And look, not just, and it's not like, hey, it was a good turkey. It was the turkey from Christmas Vacation. Just.
Listen, man. All I know is that y'all. You know what? You always talk Phillies, man. How about this? They have a project pitcher in his 7th year in Vince Velasquez who can't get out of the second inning. Literally, they gave him an 8-run lead, and he goes, "Hold my beer," and gives up 9. There. You want to talk Phillies? Tell you what to talk Phillies for. Tell you what. You talk to me. Talk to us about talking Phillies when you actually watch some Phillies games.
All this, thanks to Mike from Newcastle.
To talk Phillies. What the hell is talking Phillies about?
But all right, yo, like Sheik said, Happy New Year. And we talk to y'all next week with our draft.
Tell me who our shortstop's going to be. Might be me or you. Mike might be you. Don't know. Have a good New Year, everybody.
Peace.
I hate Phillies.